There's scenes here at Perry Park.
Chris Lynn has taken the wild thing and sent him.
Oh, Bateman! Wow! Yeah!
And welcome to episode 39. What's that?
That's you going, and scene. Ma.
High School Musical, love it. Anyway,
Red
welcome
leather,
to
yellow
episode
leather.
39. No, seriously, let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, let's keep it
Welcome to
going.
episode 39 of the Beyond the Sidelines podcast. My name is Finn. I've got Angus and Campbell joining me for this special episode with Harry Wilson, big guest this week. But anyway, gents, how are we?
I'm fantastic, and I loved the High School Musical at the start. I mean, it is iconic. Let's not get that wrong.
It is. It's a bit embarrassing, though.
Not at all, mate. You wear that on your sleeve. That is a
What's
badge
her
of
name
honor.
again? Charmaine.
Gabriella? Oh, Sharpay.
Yeah,
Sharpay.
Charmaine. She's
Charmaine.
a
The
babe.
worst character. Such an antagonist. The worst person ever.
Oh.
The
No,
worst
she's
villain
great.
ever.
She's great.
No. Anyway, we can talk about High School Musical all day, gents. But
That's a new
serious question
podcast we're
times.
making, actually, by the way.
Sorry?
Beyond the High School Musical. It's the new
Yeah.
podcast name. But
I
yes,
wish,
no,
I
continue
wish.
with your point, mate.
Thank you. Anyway, I was on Snapchat
Problem.
last night and I got a very important question proposed to me that I asked
Yes.
Campbell. And we had differing answers. And now I want to propose it to Gusman for the first time without running it by him. Gusman,
Mhm.
looking you in the eye because
Yep.
on my screen you're on the top left. Mate, would
Mine
you
is on the
rather-
bottom, mate.
See, I don't like that. I don't like the
I'm just
inconsistent.
going to look into the camera. How about
Yeah.
that?
Okay, alrighty. Would you rather run away from a 40-foot bee or fight 100 pinky-sized snakes?
Okay. Well, that's stupid. I'd way rather fight 40 pinky-sized snakes. I mean,
That
that's
is my
obvious.
mate. Yes,
no,
this
no,
is
no, no.
obvious.
Bees are scary
No.
at their normal size.
No.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
The bee is 40 foot tall and there are 100 snakes.
Yeah, but they're pinky-sized, mate. You
Nah.
just step on them.
Yeah, it's
Nah,
like a
that's-
worm.
That's
That's
the
my mate.
dumbest. Oh,
That's
God.
stupid. And you can just go, oh, I'm just going to get into my car and start doing like doughies on them. Do some
Yeah.
circle work.
No,
Like,
Or you
whereas
just
a bee,
walk
what are you
and-
going to do?
Or you just walk normal
No.
pace and you'd be able to outrun them.
We don't know
Yeah.
the variables in this situation.
No,
It's
we do. There's
hypothetical.
100.
We don't know if we have a car.
Just get a bucket of water and wash them away. Seriously.
But as I said to Campbell last night, though, the thing is, if you're ever in a situation where you see a 40-foot bee hurling towards you,
You're right. You're done.
it's too late.
Just take it.
Just take the
On the
take the
chin.
L.
They're more afraid of you than you are of them.
Not when
I don't
they're
think so.
40
Always say.
feet, mate. Not
Yeah,
when
it
they're
is 40 feet.
Anyway, if you're still listening at this point, I'll be surprised. But send us your thoughts because that's high-quality journalism.
Yeah, please. But that got us thinking about, Snapchat and the culture behind Snapchat, mate. It is just, there's good sides and bad sides.
Keep going.
That's where I was going with it.
Yeah, keep
Mate,
We're having a
TikTok's-
conversation.
TikTok's worse.
going. Good.
That stuff's just.
TikTok is bad, man. I
TikTok is
downloaded it.
terrible.
I've spent weeks fighting it, going, you know
Mhm.
what? I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I didn't
Yep.
watch Stranger Things. I'm not getting TikTok. I'm not conforming to the ideals that society expects of me, Gusman, because that's not
Mm.
fair. That's not cricket, and that's not Finn.
That's not Dallas.
It's not. That's not Dallas. And this week
Mhm.
just gone, I decided, you know what? I'm getting TikTok. And last night I was on TikTok. I just went on it. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go on it for 5 minutes. 2 hours later, Jesus, what's happened?
Yeah, it does consume you a little bit. And you were mentioning how you're a bit tired today, mate. I think we need to have an intervention for you.
It's not that bad. I can give up anytime. I can quit whenever I, want.
I mean,
Just don't
first it
want
was
to.
Football Manager. Now it's
Oh,
TikTok. Oh,
no, I
seriously,
was,
mate. What's
I was
going
well
on?
addicted
Football
to
manager's a different level, mate.
Football
Yeah.
Manager, I was addicted to that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, when I first got it, I think I spent about 12 days in a row consistently playing until 3 a.m.
Oh, that's horrible.
And it's just little, like, circles, like, running at a ball.
That'll
Kicking
do
it.
it. Yeah.
So
That'll
it's
fry
been-
your brain.
Otherwise known as poetry in motion, my friend.
Basically is, CJ. Basically is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, gents, moving on to something that's a bit more, I guess, current. It's a bit more interesting. I think you can put it that way. Is Harry Wilson. Now, he's a wannabe Wallaby or a will-be Wallaby. I guess you can put it that way. Now, if Test match rugby comes back this year, guys, is Harry Wilson donning the gold?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thing is,
Yeah.
hands down. Hands
Yeah,
down.
we've spoken about this multiple times on the podcast. We've spoken about how excellent the Reds are in terms of like their, I guess, war chest of talent they've got
Gotcha.
with Tate McDermott, Harry Wilson, Fraser
Mateo, Jock
McBride,
Campbell.
Liam Wright, even. They've just got such a deep squad of young talent. You got really good young players who aren't even getting in that squad, like Tom Kibble and stuff. And Harry Wilson is arguably the cream of the crop there.
Well, I mean, Harry Wilson's the guy who's in the news right now. I mean, he's who everyone's talking about. So clearly the Wallabies will have him on their radar. I mean, he's obviously the standout for the Reds. I can't name another person who's probably done quite as good a job as Harry Wilson has done so far.
Actually, on that, Gusman, how many Reds games did you watch this year? Putting you on the spot. Here we go.
There's your answer.
I'm not like a super. I might have watched a half or maybe a couple of halves, 20-minute stints. I'm a league man, mate. I'm doing other stuff with my
time. That's where you went wrong. Remember, he was voted Australian Super Rugby Player of the Year by rugby.com.au by the fans. Now, this is a kid who is a kid. Actually, he's 20 years old, and he's being bestowed an honor like that. You know, he's not just another player. CJ,
special talent.
But is he in contact with the Wallabies? Does he think he can play for the Wallabies? We've got our views, but hear from the great man himself now. And joining us this week is Reds number 8 and future Wallabies star, but we won't put too much pressure on him, of course. It's Harry Wilson, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Great to be on here, so thanks for having me, guys.
No, mate, thank you for joining us. And, of course, isolation is something we're all experiencing at the moment. How are you finding it, and have you doomsday prepped enough?
Yeah, we probably haven't doomsday prepped enough. I can't say we've got many toilet paper rolls left, but no, it's okay, I guess. I guess everyone's in the same situation. It's not too fun, but I guess, yeah.
And what are you doing to keep yourself entertained? Are you training much, or are you going for runs, or what are your obligations, I guess, as a rugby player?
Yeah, well, it's still pretty full on because I guess we still have potential of playing a season and we'll keep delaying it by a month, but a month's time. So I guess, I've obviously hurt my knee in the final game, so I've been pretty heavy on the rehab and lucky enough to still be able to go in a day or two a week to get treated, and that's probably kept me busy. Well, I'm trying to make it go as long as I can just for something I've got to do at the moment.
Yeah. It's keeping you sane. How's that all going? Are you responding well to the treatment, and do you think you'll be back this year if it goes ahead?
So I'm starting to run on, I think, this Monday, so that should be good. And I think if we had games coming up, I'd be available in about 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully whenever the games do come, if they do, I'll definitely go.
Yeah, no doubt. Are you doing anything different that maybe you didn't before we were in isolation? You know, changing up maybe some yoga, Pilates, something like that, maybe to alter your kind of training regime?
Yeah, we actually have been. I know about 2 times a week we jump on Zoom, and I think there's about 7, 8 of us boys. We're doing Pilates twice a week, and I guess, just something different because otherwise at the moment, just doing gym and running gets pretty repetitive. So it's quite good to do Pilates and just, we did do a few stretching sessions. Wouldn't call it yoga, but some sessions. But no, it's been good to, I guess, change up.
Well, mate, how does that work over Zoom? Like, how do you keep the banter up and the vibe of, yogaing and Pilates with the boys? It's must be pretty hard to, I guess, stay motivated or have a similar type of atmosphere.
Yeah, no, it is. It's quite weird, I guess, just especially when we're trying to do Pilates, you're trying to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
But,
distract yourself.
Yeah. It's pretty messy, but I guess it's just good seeing other boys' faces. And I know FaceTime's been getting used a lot because we're all missing each other quite a lot, but there's not much else you can do really.
Yeah, no doubt. And, House Party's getting a workout. Zoom's getting a workout. We're using it now. What did you make of your season up to this point? We've talked about how there's potentially still a season to play left, but how did you make, your start to the season? You played very well personally, but as a team, how do you find you guys fared?
It was probably quite a frustrating first 7 games. And I guess this stoppage of the season probably came at the worst time because I felt as if we played 7 games and we probably should have won 6 of them, but we only won 2. So I know we had a pretty good run, and after, because we hadn't had many home games and we had a lot of Australian conference games coming up, so we're pretty confident was to come. But it's a little bit disappointing because we played some really good footy against some of the best teams in competition, but to go down by under 7 most of the games, not many boys were too happy with it all.
Understandable.
Are you impressed with how you've personally played?
Yeah, well, I guess coming to Super Rugby, I didn't really know what to expect. And I guess the only thing I knew I could do was just go out there and just, I guess, try and run as hard as I could and tackle as hard as I could. And I guess playing around better players than I've probably ever played with has definitely helped me a lot. And I guess just the organisation in a professional team has probably made my job a lot easier, knowing exactly what to do. And I guess that's probably benefited me a lot, just having a set structure and I guess know what to do from there.
And how did you find that step up from playing Premier Grade last year up to, playing Reds, mate? How different was it physically, and do you think you matched it?
Yeah, it is quite a big step up. But I guess probably one of the best things about Australian rugby now, it's that it's got a pretty good transition up through, I guess, 20s, Prem Grade, NRC. So you kind of feel, I guess, every level, it's just that little bit harder. And yeah, I found, obviously, playing Super Rugby, my body has felt it a lot more, that's for sure. I've had to try and be a lot more professional during the week, which I guess I've never really done before. But I guess
don't say that. You're a professional, mate. Come on. Stay humble.
Fake one. No, but yeah, it's just, I guess, a lot more to look after the body just so you're ready to play 80 minutes the next week. And yeah, it's a good step up, but it's definitely, you could definitely feel how much, I guess, harder it is than the usual Prem Grade footy.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned NRC there. We like the competition. What did you make of it? You had a very good one. I believe you were a rising star in the competition last year. What do you think of the whole competition of the NRC and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I really like it because I guess it's just obviously the test players get to play for the Wallabies, but everyone else, like us club footy players from last year and people playing 20s and etc., it's your chance, I guess, show that you're ready for Super Rugby. So I personally loved it last year. It was just a good opportunity to, I guess, show Thorny and all the coaches that I'm ready for Super Rugby. So I probably took it a lot more, I guess, serious to others, but everyone takes it differently. I know a lot of people against it, a few people love it, but I'm definitely for it because I guess there's more chance to play footy, and it's awesome playing club footy, but then just to get, I guess, travel around and I guess meeting people from other different clubs in Brisbane who you normally hate too was also good. So yeah, I love it, and I say it.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talk about traveling there. You had a really interesting game against Fiji and Drua, actually. I remember watching this. Didn't you get a snag in that game or get a try in that one, meat pie?
Yeah, lucky enough to get an early meat pie there.
Yeah, exactly.
That was an interesting game, that one.
That was a really good game.
Lost on the bell.
Oh, no.
But there we go.
Let's not touch on it too much, but he might start crying. So we won't go there. Mate, you mentioned Thorny. What's he like as a coach? Because from what we've heard very much from, I guess, the press and throughout his playing career, he's quite a hard guy and quite a traditional coach, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. Very traditional coach. Very much how he used to play is, I guess, how he coaches. He expects a lot of you, and if you're slacking off, he'll let you know, which I know personally it's benefited me a lot to have that figure, making sure you're always putting 100% in. And I guess one thing I loved about him is, I guess, at training, how much emphasis he puts on getting better each session, but just on game day, the amount of confidence he'll put in, I guess, all of us individually. I guess just really, when you go out to play, gives that confidence to, I guess, back yourself a lot more. And yeah, I've loved being coached by him this year. It's been awesome.
And there's plenty of talent in that Queensland Red side. Guys like Fraser McWright, Tate McDermott. Do you think this Red side has the potential to win a Super Rugby competition in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think now we've probably got a pretty good mix of young and old. We're obviously a pretty young team, but we've still got a few of those older heads, which I guess have been very good for us. And yeah, some of I guess, young talent we have coming through, where I guess Fraser hasn't got many minutes yet, but the more minutes he plays, the more everyone's going to see how good he is. And just, in each position there's a young person coming through. And yeah, but that's definitely our goal, I guess. Most of us are pretty much locked in till 2023. So we definitely want to at least have a few premierships in that time. And I guess that's the end goal there, really.
Yeah, no doubt. And we've been big fans of the Reds. We've been big advocates for you guys this season. And, we do hope and we think you'll push on in the future years. But you mentioned earlier about how maybe you guys, I'm not going to call it choking, but maybe let some wins slip in the later kind of stages of games. Do you think a blend of, your older guys and your younger guys, because you guys are a very young side, do you think that helps, or what kind of value do you think maybe a blend kind of gives a squad?
Yeah, well, I guess with a good blend in the team, I guess, is those older heads in the big moments to, I guess, just settle everyone down and, just to, I guess, give everyone confidence in the big situations where I guess the best thing about a young team is we back ourselves through anything. We know we can win from any situation. And I really think from those first 7 games, it's given the whole team that much confidence. I know after that Crusaders game, I think then we were sitting at 1 win, 5 losses, and then we still felt the whole team was so confident knowing that we're such a good team that we just need to show. So because it's good to go out there that next game and get a good win at home, even though it was a bit shaky at the start. But that was when the older heads took over then when we were losing 17-0 and just got everyone together. And then I think we had 40 unanswered points from there.
For sure.
And do you think the fact that you played with a lot of the guys you are playing with now throughout, junior footy, or you at least played alongside some of them or against them, do you think that helped smooth the transition a bit?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know personally, like playing with, I guess, Zachy, Fraser, and even Tate, Hocko, and all them through, knowing that they can do it, I guess, giving myself personally a lot of confidence, and I guess also just knowing how each other play. It's pretty much, I reckon, most of the Reds team played NRC together last year too, so I know there I felt you could get a lot of combinations with a few of the players who, I guess, as number 8, you got to run off, and I guess with Tate at scrum time and just in general. So I think, yeah, our combinations made it a little bit easier to, I guess, happen just because we have played a lot of football previously.
And mate, talk us through the big debut down in Canberra. How nervous were you, I guess, the night before? Did you sleep much? And how did it feel running out there and donning the maroon?
Yeah, it was obviously, I guess, something I just always wanted to do. And I guess to do it was, pretty special. I slept pretty well, and I was pretty relaxed with all up until then. I guess the moment I was out there about like doing our final tackles, I was like, oh shit. But then I guess once you get out there, as everyone says, you make your first tackle or first run, and then it's just another footy game. But yeah, it's something which I know I'll remember forever, and it was pretty special, I guess, getting your cap presented and get your baggy maroon, which is something I've always wanted.
Were there any words of wisdom pre-game? Did anyone have anything motivational to say for you, mate?
Not really. A lot of the boys were really good. Everyone just came over and gave me a bit of confidence, said you're ready for it, and nothing too in particularly. I know Thorny was probably a bit worried. We're not sure if I was ready or not, so he kept saying, "Come on, mate, you'll be sweet." But everyone got around me, and it was kind of good debuting round 1 too, because you're not the only one, so it's not as much emphasis on you. So that also helped out a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was a bit of a weird season for you guys. One of the weirdest probably games I've seen from you guys this season was the game in Argentina. You probably don't want to talk about it too much. But what was that game like? What was the locker room after? What was that kind of whole affair like for you?
That first 40 minutes, we probably played the best 40 minutes we played all season.
For sure.
They came second last year, pretty much the Argentina pack and all. And we went out there and we smacked them in the first half. And you try not to go too much about blaming the ref, but like normally you're good with it. But that game was a bit ridiculous. But I guess we let that one slip, which hurt, especially because we were sitting at 0 from 2. And then we thought, get a win, come back home game into Sunwolves, which would be perfect. But to lose that one was a bit heartbreaking. But in the locker room after, we were probably more shattered the first 2 games, because I guess that game we showed everyone how good we can be against probably the best or one of the best teams in the competition. So took a bit of confidence away, and then I guess it's good that next week to go there and finally show the Red supporters the type of footy we can play for 80 minutes.
And it got a bit weird once you guys did return home. Goal kicking woes plagued your season a bit. Jock Campbell kicking 12 from 21 across the campaign, Bryce Hegarty, James O'Connor as well, all that to go on the tee. But there was a little bit of chatter, some murmurs that you were keen to step up to slot a few, mate. Is that true, or do you fancy yourself as a goal kicker?
Yeah, that got taken way out of proportion. I do fancy myself as a goal kicker, but it was just having a few little digs at them saying I would be ready. But then suddenly somebody took a joke out of it and made a media article out of it. But I think they were all a little bit off me too from.
Well, there's been talk of the next John Eales from that, but we're not gonna bring that up. Something I find interesting about you personally is your Instagram names. Now, I think at the moment it's Harry Zorko Wilson, if I'm correct. I think it was Harry. Was it AB de Villiers Wilson at some stage? What is going on here?
So it's probably started about after the Patriots won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I kind of just thought I'm sick of just having the same name. So I was Harry Gronkowski. I loved Gronkowski so much. I thought he was just the man. So probably a good year, and then thought he's about to join WWE, so probably need to change from that. I love my cricket, so I thought I may as well jump on Brisbane Heat bandwagon there with AB, and then that he was a bit of a shocker there in that tournament, so I thought jump on Zorko for the Lions.
And mate, well, why did you love cricket? You played a bit during school as well. Is there a reason why you went the rugby route and not cricket, or why do you love rugby more than, I guess, other codes?
Well, I guess in school I loved them both equally. I probably did prefer cricket during school, but it was probably in grade 11. I was got picked in Australian schoolboys, which for rugby, and then it was colliding with Queensland 17's cricket. When I was just in the squad there, so I wasn't sure I would have 100% been picked. I was pretty confident. So then I guess I just thought one Australia or Queensland, so I thought I chose rugby there. And I thought from then if I'm going to choose rugby there, I may as well go 100% into it. So I kind of just put cricket on the back burner from there and focus on footy.
Well, I mean, you were a Terrace old boy. We're GPS old boys ourselves, a couple of BBC and a prison grammar. What do you think was good about the GPS rugby system when you were going through the ranks there?
Yeah, well, now when you look back on it, like it's so, I guess, special. I guess just how you're at school the week before your mates, and then everyone in your whole grade will come and watch you play on the weekend, and just I guess the rivalries, like it's like beating. I can't say lost a grade in my final year, but like beating like some of your rivals is like special, and then just. How come when you think back now, like how competitive it was when you like just it was do or die like each game, and it was awesome. Some of the footy you look back on is some of those memories for life. And I was lucky enough in grade 11 to play with Zaki and Nasser, and you kind of picture yourself now. We played in school footy together, and now I guess get the opportunity to play for Reds together. And I guess most of the team is from GPS schools, so we always get into each other around when school cricket or footy's on, and get into about who's winning, especially Terrace won the cricket premiership this year, so it's good.
Yeah, no, see, that's a level that we never got anywhere close to. But I guess from like fourths rugby and stuff, there was a fair bit of rivalry there too, mate. Don't you worry. But taking it back to Super Rugby real quick, I read to bulk up in preparation for your debut, you had 8 eggs a day. Did you get sick of them, or was it omelets every day? What was the go?
Well, I'm quite a fussy eater, so I probably could have eaten a variety of food, but if it was me being normal, I'd just be eating bacon and just butter Vegemite on toast. But so I thought I enjoyed eggs. I thought, last year I was pretty light, so then one of the main points everyone kept saying to me was get a bit heavier. So I'd always just have 4 eggs in the morning and then 4 at night, part of my meals, and end up getting me a bit fatter, which was good. So build a bit.
Great stuff.
Now, after those few opening rounds of the Super Rugby season, there was a lot of talk that you might be a future Wallaby. What do you think you have to do to work on your personal game to get to that stage to play for Australia?
I definitely think it's still quite a bit I've got to keep working on to get there. And I'm pretty confident in my attacking game. Obviously, you've got to learn to not always push the offloads, which I've been found out a few times this year. But I guess just set piece-wise, line out strength will get better jumper, and then I guess I probably never in the back of the scrum. I've never really been on such a dominant scrum in my life, so it's just been because I didn't realise how important it was to control the ball at the back of the scrum, which I learned from JP Smith screaming in my face when I stuffed up. So I guess that's been one of the big things I've having to work on because it's so important for the team. So I know just set piece wise, and then defensively, there's a lot of areas there I can improve on with just trying to be more dominant, but definitely set piece wise would be my big one.
And has Dave Rennie or anyone from Rugby Australia contacted you about what you need to work on or about how close you are to making your Wallabies debut?
Yeah, they've talked to me about a few little work on, so kind of good at this period. They just, I guess, to get fitter in this, because obviously you can't play any footy at the moment, so they're just saying use this period now to get fitter and faster and stronger, really. So that's a good little bit of motivation there to improve, I guess. To
get there. And, mate, only 7 Super Rugby games. It's not a lot, but again, they are talking about you, putting a lot of pressure on you at the moment about you becoming a great, really, or about you making your debut this year. Do you think you're ready, or are you up to the task of playing for the Wallabies?
Yeah, I don't really feel that pressure at all. I guess you read the odd article, which is nice, but I guess that doesn't really matter to me much at all. And I do believe I'm ready. I'd back myself in any situation, really. So I know if I got the opportunity, I'd be ready for it, and I'd try and take it with both hands. But if I have to wait a little bit longer, I'm very happy to do that and just keep on, I guess, working my craft and just get better until I get to the point where I have to be picked.
Yeah, that's great stuff. But there are a lot of people singing your praises, namely Brad Thorne. He called you special while remaining cautious, of course. And Scott Robertson, Razor, the Crusaders coach, also said that you were quite a special player as well. How does that make you feel? You know, they are two very, very good All Blacks of years gone by. Mate, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I guess hearing it from those two, that kind of, I guess it made me feel, I guess, pretty good. Just the first 7 games, it's obviously impacted them to, I guess, rate me a bit more as a footballer. And I guess it's kind of just gives me more motivation to, I guess, just to keep working harder, because I know Thorny won't be giving out compliments unless he means them. So it's taken a few years to, I guess, earn that from him. So I'll keep working hard to hopefully get a few more in the future.
Definitely.
So is the dream to make it to the next World Cup? Is that what you've got your eyes set on at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. That's I guess that's, as a kid, that's all you want to do. You want to win a World Cup for Wallabies, Bledisloes and all that. So I guess that's definitely, I've set my sight on. I want to play in that World Cup, and I want to win a World Cup for Australia. So I know that's a long way away, and I've got a lot of things to do to even get an opportunity to be there. But that's definitely, I guess, you have your short goal, and that's definitely my long goal at the moment.
Well, let's see. It's a bit of a waiting game at the moment, mate. Unfortunately, we don't know when rugby is going to be back. And I guess, actually, one more question, mate. What did you learn coming through the Junior Wallabies system about yourself as a player? And, and how could you take that into the senior team, I guess, those lessons learned?
One of my big things I found from Junior Wallabies, I've probably never enjoyed playing rugby as much as I did there. Like the amount, it probably showed me how much I love playing rugby, just around my age, who just had the best time of my life there. And I guess playing against, that was the first time I'd ever really played all the schoolboys, but you kind of just versed New Zealand there. So it was kind of awesome to verse Italy, France. Don't want to mention their names, but no, but it's just awesome to verse different countries, and everyone plays differently. So you kind of had to change. You can't just be so normal, just like you got to change your game to each team. So that's probably one thing I learned definitely from Oz 20s is you can't just be so simple. You got to keep changing up your game for different teams. And that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in footy. That's for sure.
And mate, you don't want to mention them, so I won't mention them directly. But the World Cup, so close. The Under-20s World Cup last year in Argentina. What was that experience like for you, mate? Because let's face it, Australian rugby at the moment is not expected to go that far in a rugby competition, Rugby World Cup competition, but you guys defied the odds and so nearly got there. So how proud were you to be part of that team?
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome there, because I guess when that was all happening too, a lot of bad stuff was happening in Australian rugby at the moment. I was kind of a bit of our motivation too. I guess we got together in December that year with one goal, or we were with a few different goals, I guess, to pick up every bit of silverware along the way, which we did until, I guess, the final game. But I guess it's just such an awesome experience to, I guess, win Oceania, beat New Zealand, which hadn't been done in a while, and then get to the grand final over in Argentina. Was, such a special experience. And to lose by, I think, 1 point will always have to stay with me, but we'll definitely use as motivation in the future, that's for sure.
I tell you what, I reckon, think positively. Prefer to lose that one than a senior tournament in the future, but let's see how that plays out, mate. So much uncertainty surrounding rugby at the moment. We don't know when you'll be back. You don't know when you'll be back, but whenever you do return, let's hope you keep working hard, keep performing, and let's see you on a gold jumper in the not too distant future. Harry, thank you for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
And what a great interview that was with Harry Wilson. I like that entrance.
I'll do that again.
Anyway.
Get rid of the spin. Get rid of the spin.
Get rid of the spin.
Get rid of you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, what was your favourite part of that interview, guys? Because he said some pretty cool stuff. I think what stood out for me was the fact that he's in contact with Rugby Australia and Dave Rennie. They're telling him, hey, these are your work-ons. Go work on them. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, that's very promising for him as a player. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, if I got a call from Dave Rennie tomorrow, I'd follow him into the
Why?
edge of the world.
Why would Dave Rennie be calling you?
Hey, mate, let's
never
don't
know.
let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Maybe he's
all right?
looking for an apartment buddy. Maybe he's trying to,
Maybe he's
find
looking for
some new mates.
an undersized, underdeveloped halfback / hooker that, can't really play footy that well and
Prodigy.
breaks his collarbone every time he plays.
Untested
So
prodigy. There you
who
go.
knows what
Put
the
it that way.
Wallabies' new look is.
Anyway, best of luck to Harry Wilson, of course, when he does next take the field. Unfortunately, we don't know, and nobody knows when that'll next be. But hopefully by 2027, rugby will be back in action. I think there's a good chance that that's the case.
Come on, seriously.
Of course it's not.
Honestly,
2027.
of course it's not.
I think we
You're dreaming.
rounded up
pal.
to 2030.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a
we'll
safe
be
number.
back until then.
That's a safe number. No, the reason
Yeah.
I mentioned 2027 is because that'll be the year of another installment of the Rugby World Cup. Of course, we had Japan last year. Did you guys hear about Japan? I told you about.
Oh, it'll be
my
tough
God.
to top that. Japan, probably one of the.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like the trains, just the whole culture over there. It's just-
We get it. You were
I'm
there.
sick of you, mate. I am sick of you. It took you a while to catch on to that one, Gusman. Not going to lie to you. Pal.
exactly. You're feeding me here, Gusman. You're
Yeah.
just absolutely feeding
He
me.
goes, "Oh, did I tell you about it?" And you're like, "Oh, it looked amazing. I wish I was there." And then Finn can just go, "Well, I
Yeah.
was."
I never said I wish I was there. I just said it was a great World Cup.
It was.
Finn was there for.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
God.
Anyway, and then of course,
Shut up.
the next World
Yeah.
Land of the Frogs, France will host, but then 2027, it is still up in the air. But you Wallabies fans, you Australians, True Blue, could have some good news coming our way because Argentina and Australia were the two front runners to host that World Cup. But Argentina, after announcing their bid in 2016, have withdrawn it because Australia, quote, had a stronger project. Boys, Rugby World Cup down under. It'll be the first time in 24 years. Can it happen? Should it happen? Will it happen?
Well, I mean, if they're the only ones really in the running at the moment, then it probably will happen.
No, wait, so I'm
I
just curious here. What's wrong, CJ?
Oh, didn't we host one in 2003? Am I being silly?
Yeah, then 24 years later is 2027.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was
Well,
thinking today's date.
mean,
Yes, no. In 2027. Yeah, no, you're right.
Anyway,
Yes,
keep going,
at
Gusman.
the time it will be.
I mean, I think if this is like is this a definite bid that they've made?
This is like formal stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, then I suggested it'll probably go to Australia, honestly, because they
Let's
were
hope
one of the
so.
biggest. They're probably top 4, I guess.
Rugby nations in the world.
nations in the world. So
I'd say now
why
they're probably-
are you picking Argentina over Australia? I
because
mean,
Argentina haven't had it before, and there
I
is
guess-
a big rugby following over there. Plus,
Growing
like,
the game.
we've seen how they do football. When South America, when they adopt sport, man, it'll be unmatched. If Argentina got it, I'd go.
Imagine it at like River Plate Stadium, Rugby World Cup Grand Final. Like, it would go off.
Exactly. It'd be absolutely incredible. I mean, you also look at New Zealand, cross Tasman counterparts. They had to wait 24 years between drinks in terms of hosting a Rugby World Cup. So it's almost fitting in a way that Australia finally gets their dues and gets their chance to do it again.
well, I mean, we saw the Cricket World Cup, I believe the One Day Cup in 2015. Australia and New Zealand shared it. Would that be a good idea, maybe, for Australia and New Zealand to share the Rugby World Cup?
Who has the final though? That's a problem.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Australia
Australia,
have
MCG.
Yeah, but
mean-
Australia have the biggest stadiums, but New Zealand have the fans. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, it would still get packed out no matter what in Australia. Like a World Cup final of any sport will pretty much get packed out. But I think it's about time for Australia to have another one. I think the benefit of having it in Australia from World Rugby's perspective is there doesn't have to be a lot of development in terms of infrastructure. I think it's pretty much all developed. Like
Yeah,
we're not going to be building any new stadiums for it, I wouldn't say.
I think
Like, do we really need all of our major cities
Yeah.
have big stadiums, so we
That
don't
was
really need to.
probably the main problem with Argentina, whether their stadiums were up to
they've
the
got-
standard.
They've got
They have
big
stadiums,
football
mate.
stadiums. man.
Yeah,
Huge.
is there I don't know enough about it, but would Argentina have the funding required to pay for all this stuff? I don't know how wealthy the country is, but I'm guessing it's probably not as wealthy as Australia.
No.
Yeah.
So
But I still think they're in a similar position to Australia where they don't need an
like
overhaul of
rebuild.
development compared to where like Japan maybe did and like
Not really, mate.
potentially, but yeah, not hugely. But I mean, I'm thinking my mind automatically goes to South Africa, and to I guess Brazil a little bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think South Africa was a bit like that for the Football World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
putting up stadiums,
Lots of money putting in stadiums.
then 2
because
months later,
yeah.
they were prisons. 2 years later, they were prisons. So
Yeah.
it's funny how that works out. Now, Gusman, off there, I was actually squashing it, but thinking about it, it's quite interesting, that concept of New Zealand and Australia co-hosting a Rugby World Cup. Now, it does seem unlikely because I think New Zealand, their whole concept is we're a stadium of, 4.5 million people. That's why we might not be the biggest country, but you can, bet your bottom dollar we can host a World Cup, right? So I think if they're going to host a World Cup, why are they going to split the revenue with Australia? But by then, in 2027, these next 2-3 years for Australia are so important, eh?
Huge.
Because rugby, as Campbell and I touched on a few months ago now, Rugby Australia is on the ropes. And the fallout of Israel Folau, even now, we're losing money because there's no rugby being played. So in what year is it? What year is it now? It's 2020. In 7 years, can Australia realistically have the fans, the passion, the pride to host a World Cup? I mean, the sporting culture of Australia suggests yes, but Australians could just be off rugby by then.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
I don't. I don't think so. I mean, 7 years, that's a long time.
It's dropping though, mate. Like viewership, people are going to league, both players and fans, because it's simpler, isn't it? And there's more chance of your team winning, really. Because Australia playing a 2-team competition, which on paper, they should win it once every 2 years. They haven't won it since 2002. Why the hell, if you guys as Australian rugby fans, why the hell should you keep watching when the team can't win and the board is in such a position where there is no direction, no passion, and no forward thinking?
Yep.
Mate, the next few years for rugby in Australia are vital because it could die out. It seems unlikely, but it could happen.
Yeah, I don't see it dying out completely, but I do see it losing a significant amount of popularity,
but where
especially amongst Australians. Yeah.
Where do you draw the line of it's lost enough to the point where Australia shouldn't host a World Cup? Or is the sporting culture in this country enough where people are going to go, hey, we'll do our part, Japan are playing Samoa down at Suncorp Stadium, I'll go watch.
Look, I think if it's a World Cup, I think World Cups people tend to turn up anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to I don't think you'd be worried about selling out games. I think Australians would go to a Rugby World Cup. So I wouldn't be worried about that, but more the domestic side, I think that's more in trouble than internationals.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rugby Australia, they're still very much on board with a domestic competition of some kind. Now, I think the Western Force could almost be a saving grace for Australian rugby, which is quite ironic, seeing that a few years ago they were discarded as part of the problem. But I think there's such a fan base, such a passion in Perth from the expats that we could see it happen. They could be the solution. So I guess that's interesting in itself.
Maybe a World Cup final at Optus Stadium.
No, I think they'd host it at the G, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
I mean,
Optus is a pretty big ground, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's in Western Australia.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
You've got to consider things like time zones too. Rugby in this country is very much played on the East Coast.
Fair.
So then you're playing a World Cup final, which traditionally, World Cup finals, they're at like, what, 7 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I should know. But anyway, that means it's 10
You're
a.m.
insufferable, mate.
7 p.m. Sorry, that means it's 10 p.m. here.
Yeah, true.
That's just
true.
that. And then what finishes at midnight, and I don't know. It just gets awkward. Anyway, I'm really hoping Australia hosts the 27 World Cup. Then the States in 31. That'd be my pick.
That would be cool.
That'd be my hope. Because man, I'd go over there for 6 weeks. That'd be so much fun.
It would be so much fun.
Anyway, moving on from rugby. Sadly, I don't say that at all. I think that's the first time I've ever actually said that. Too much. Rugby. Let's move on. Anyway, in Australia, something that is a bit more saddening is the state of Ben Cousins. Now, the former West Coast and Richmond Tigers player, Brownlow medalist, man, he's off the rails again, sadly. He's fought addiction, drugs, his whole career and post-career. And once again, he's been arrested. CJ, your thoughts on this, mate? Because, again, it's pretty damning, eh?
Yeah, it's really sad. He was such a good player, like so promising. That whole West Coast Eagles squad back in the day when he was playing, they were all a bit troubled. Especially, you've got Daniel Kerr, who's Sam Kerr's brother. He was in with that as well. And he suffered, I guess, a similar fate where maybe a career ending too soon because of a lack of dedication to the sport. And, Ben Cousins is the same. And, for a while there, it seemed like he'd come back. It seemed like, Ben Cousins is on the right path.
Well, he did that interview with, I think it was 60 Minutes,
Yep.
like 3 weeks ago, and he was talking about how his addiction has pretty much ruined his life and how he's trying to turn it around. But,
Exactly.
I mean, it's the toughest thing to, like, drug problems. That shit's just so tough to deal with and to get over. Addictions, it's just horrible.
And I had to read his book, his biography, for an assignment, would you believe? I did a subject in first year called, I think it was the history of sport. It was something like that. It was like, wow, this is crazy. How's this a subject?
Yeah.
And basically, reading his book, it's quite depressing because there were 2 or 3 times when I was reading it going, he's going to get better. Like you kind of just forget about what's actually happened since. And you go, this guy looks like he's over the mend. And then he just falls into a ditch. And it was quite sad because he talks a lot about how everyone's doing it, how he had to do it to cope with, things like anxiety and the pressures of being a footballer, especially playing for the Eagles, man.
Yeah, star footballer for the Eagles.
Especially as at a stage when Freo was still quite young and mainly the Eagles were very much WA's team.
That's no doubt.
A lot of pressure on you when you are the captain, you're the Brownlow medalist, you're a grand final hero. There is so much expectation on you every week to go out and be the guy with, 30-odd disposals.
Yeah. Being tagged the whole game by the best defenders in the game. There's so much pressure. You're the golden boy, essentially. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And unfortunately, he couldn't handle that in maybe the ways or ethical ways or sustainable ways. And it's just a really sad story, to be honest.
Because I don't think he's going to beat it now. I just don't. It's like every time these stories come out, you kind of have to go, okay, like this is more and more serious. This is really getting, that much more serious. And just don't think he can kick it.
I believe it's a methamphetamines problem. I'm pretty sure that is the worst stuff on this planet. It is horrible and it destroys families. It destroys lives.
You can just look at him. Like, he looks a lot more weathered than... he just looks defeated.
He looks like he's aged 30 years in the space of 5.
Yeah.
That stuff just ruins your life. And you just hope that like we could do more, as a society to stop this sort of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Because God, it's horrible. It's horrible.
You hope so, mate. But hopefully Ben does get his life back together. Let's put it that way.
Let's hope so.
Bluntly, because he was a good footballer. But
Very
obviously we need to see him back on track. If you are dealing with addiction or that type of thing, make sure you reach out to Beyond Blue or some other addiction helplines, of course. Speak to your mates and go get help because no one should have to go through that alone, first and foremost. But let's beat it anyway. Ben Cousins, sad stuff. Anyway, gents, what was the other thing we were going to chat about? I'm blanking.
We're going to mention maybe Lockie Hunter. I mean, I don't like to talk about it as a Doggies fan, but last week he got caught up in potentially the most NRL kind of fiasco that is possible. He got a drink driving charge where Bailey Smith, who has the best flow in the game, had to pick him up. So
yeah, well, it wasn't a good week for the AFL. It was not a good week at all. They lost. There were two star players, or not stars, but one star player and another player who got involved in drink driving incidents. I think it was Lockie Hunter.
Lockie Hunter from the Dogs.
Yeah, Lockie Hunter. Apparently, he was
on the Terps a little bit.
Got behind the wheel, and apparently he knocked over he ran into 4 cars or something. Collided with 4 cars before, I don't know, pulled over or got arrested or whatever it was.
One of his teammates picked him up, didn't he?
Yeah, Bailey Smith.
And that was where some of the issue came about because you've got
Bailey Smith got fined.
Exactly. And Hunter's in such a bad way. He's drunk. Obviously shouldn't be driving. But then isolation. And, hey, mate, can you come pick me up? Sure, I'll do it because you're my mate and you should be getting home safely. Then I get fined because I'm breaking isolation.
I doubt Bailey would have paid it. I think Lockie would have paid it, but it was a team fine for breaking.
Team fine?
It was a team fine for breaking, I believe, for breaking team policy regarding
That's how
isolation.
team finds tend to work, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Mm.
he's a part of that Doggy's leadership group as well. So
He is vice captain, so
yeah, he
I
got,
think he's
he-
potentially stripped, or he has
yeah.
been stripped of it.
Oh, I assume he probably would be. You can't have your
Mm.
vice captain going out and drink driving.
That's who I want. A captain, my captain.
Yeah.
It's real.
Follow you to
Yeah.
the four corners of the earth. Actually, there's
Exactly.
one more thing I did want to chat about too, boys. Of course, Friday morning, the NFL draft has started. We are sadly recording this on a Thursday evening, so we can't comment on no doubt, Joe Burrow being selected number 1.
Mm.
But the big news coming out of the NFL that we can comment on is the Patriots trading a retired player in Rob Gronkowski for
And a 7th.
and a 7th for a 4th-round pick. Now, is this Bill Belichick the mastermind, or is this Gronk going, I want to play with Brady, and I'm only going to play with Brady? Trade me or don't get anything.
Probably
Yeah,
a bit of both.
I think they've kind of masterminded this a little bit from the a little bit for both parties. I mean, I think the Pats have done an excellent job getting a 4th-round pick for a retired player. I think that's incredible. I think also Tampa Bay have done a great job of, really solidifying that team and becoming a title threat in a matter of weeks. I think it probably would have been in the contract negotiations when Tom Brady was kind of feeling out teams like, hey, I can get Gronk. What I have heard from NFL Network, that Gronk, because he obviously took a year off, he's basically feeling rejuvenated and a year off because he did have a lot of back injuries and neck injuries. That's why he slid in the draft when he was selected. So he did have a few issues with his back and neck, and apparently that year off has just made him completely revived. Apparently he just feels a lot better in his own skin. And going down to Tampa, you moved down to Florida, you've played for 10 years in the cold of Massachusetts. You want to go down to sunny Florida and have a good time with your old mate TB12.
Win a couple of rings, maybe.
And a couple more. Jesus.
Yeah,
Can't have any more.
Just share them around. Be
Exactly.
nice. No, but this is kind of funny because, again, I was trying to flex it before. I am a Patriots fan, so I'm a little bit cut. But what I am enjoying...
Such a bandwagon.
You're a Tampa Bay fan now.
Such a bandwagon.
Go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is it? Tampa?
Yep.
Tampa?
Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa.
Tampa. Right. Anyway, what I am finding quite funny out of this is Julian Edelman, mainly. All these memes that are coming out of this now.
Why doesn't he want me?
Exactly.
Why you don't want me, man?
Now, for those listening / watching who aren't familiar with the NFL and or the Patriots, Julian Edelman is basically Tom Brady's best friend. He's the guy Tom Brady throws to the most, and he's been there through thick and thin. They've won, I want to say, 3 rings together. So they're very successful. And Rob Gronkowski was another player who was vital
in that same group.
In that same period. But basically, now both Tom Brady, the GOAT, and Gronkowski are in Tampa Bay, leaving Edelman all by his lonesome.
With his father-in-law. With his father-in-law, who is Bill Belichick. So,
actually?
Yeah.
You're kidding. No.
Wait,
yeah.
Julian
Bill
Edelman's father-in-law is Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Whoa.
Julian Edelman married Bill Belichick's daughter.
Jesus.
Does she look like Bill Belichick?
Let's hope not.
God.
For Julian Edelman's sake.
He's just trying to really suck up to Bill A. He's like,
yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah,
no, that's funny. But no, all these memes that are coming out about why doesn't he want me, man? Edelman to Brady and him just basically going loony. I'm finding it funny, but still, this draft is going to be huge. We can comment on it in depth next week. And also, if you haven't already, check out CJ's mock draft, compare it to the actual draft, and see how many he got right. Personally,
let's hope.
I reckon he's going to get about 29 out of 32. But
I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
pretty happy with it, actually. I'm happy with it.
My opinion.
I've got to be happy with it, but I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty on the money here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be made to look like an idiot when half of these teams, because we didn't do trades for this one, so I can almost guarantee you the Seahawks will trade out of the first round.
Exactly. I do think, again, we spoke about it briefly in the ET, but I do think that 4th pick is vital. I think the Chargers could trade up, and if they sit, then they're kind of going, okay, we're hoping that, we're just going to basically wait and see how our quarterback is. I don't think you want to make the decision on who your franchise quarterback is on the decision of the Miami Dolphins and going, we'll have the leftovers. It seems a bit silly. Anyway, all this has happened. by now, so it's after the fact.
We'll
Anyway.
be knowing more stuff now. So,
Basically,
but yeah, go compare my mock draft. Go listen to it if you haven't already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good
Of
time.
course, if you want to hear more sport, of course, maybe stuff that's closer to home, such as the NRL. Gusman's, look, he's kept quiet today. He's done well. He wanted to speak about the NRL, but obviously, if you've listened to our last 2 episodes, it's basically been a lot of the same and a lot of debate, a lot of venting, a lot of passion. Now, Gusman, he'll be sharing a lot of stuff on the socials in the coming days as obviously the NRL continues to make these decisions. Now, the news that has come out this week is that the NRL is definitely starting on May 28th.
What's
Gusman,
that? What's that?
Hang quiet. Hang quiet. I think you should do an ET on that, pal. I think you should do an ET on the NRL and the situation that it's in at the moment. But it's interesting because to its credit, it's the only sport that is trying to make a genuine effort at coming back. Will other sports follow in due course? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of other sports, if you want to hear all about them too, or as much as we can at the moment, check us out on our social medias. Instagram is at Beyond the Sideline, @_ Beyond the Sidelines _ and Facebook is at Beyond the Sidelines. It's pretty simple, really. Not too difficult. Anything else you want to add, gents?
Nah, let's get out of here.
No. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
done.
I'm actually having quite a good time. So, what
I
do you
thought you had a headache 30 minutes ago.
I was just really tired now. I'm really upbeat. I'm feeling kind of good.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Talking about rugby gets you
It actually did.
rejuvenated.
It's actually not even a joke. I'm actually feeling really upbeat now. Something I should have mentioned before, though, is we are wearing different clothes to the interview. Campbell's
Not me.
Well, see, yeah, Gusman and I both just have a spare change of clothes with us. Nothing major, no. We spoke to Harry last week before the Payne Haas interview. Of course, if you listen to that Payne interview, you'll actually hear me mention Harry Wilson at one point, so that was a slip of the tongue. Anyway, we should get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm actually having a really good time now.
No, I got to go home and cook dinner.
What are you?
What are you cooking, mate?
I don't know. Usually, so what I call it is chicken smash, right? it's I chop up a bunch of chicken breast, chuck it in a pan, and then get all the spices out of my cupboard and just chuck it in the pan as well.
Yeah, cinnamon, sugar, everything.
Chicken smash, chicken surprise. It's always interesting when you put it in your mouth.
Oh my god! Otherwise known as you don't know what you're doing.
That's
in the
what she
kitchen,
said.
mate. Oh god. Otherwise known as you don't know what you're doing in the kitchen. On that note, let's get out of here.